Imagine controlling the gold beneath another continent, not through conquest, but through contracts. Not by soldiers, but by sovereign wealth. Today, Gulf royals are pouring billions into Africa's gold mines, and while most eyes are focused on tech or oil, they're quietly reshaping ancient trade routes and reactivating networks that date back to colonial times. This is Desert Billionaires, and today we uncover the real story behind the Gulf's golden obsession. Let's start with a simple fact. Africa holds over 40% of the world's gold reserves. Countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, and Sudan sit atop some of the richest untapped deposits on Earth. Historically, this gold flowed to Europe, first through colonial extraction, then through multinational mining giants headquartered in London, Paris, or Toronto. But that era is fading. A new player has entered the scene: the Gulf monarchies. And they're not just buying gold, they're buying access, control, and roots. Take the United Arab Emirates. In 2023 alone, the UAE imported over $28 billion in gold from Africa, much of it unrefined, undocumented, and flown out through discrete cargo hubs in Nairobi, Entebbe, and Khartoum. Dubai has become the global center of gold trading. Not Zurich, not London, not New York, Dubai. And it didn't happen by accident. The UAE's gold market is built on free zones, zero taxes, minimal questions, and the fastest customs clearance in the world. Inside the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, hundreds of tons of African gold are melted down, refined, and exported again, this time with a stamp of legitimacy. But the gold is only part of the story. The Gulf's entry into Africa is also about reviving influence along the very routes once used by French, British, and Belgian colonial powers. Let's take a closer look at Mali, one of the largest gold producers in West Africa. Since 2021, Gulf-backed companies, often fronted by holding firms in Mauritius or the UAE, have signed extraction rights, infrastructure contracts, and even defense agreements with Mali's transitional government. In return, access to mines, transit corridors, and preferential export rights. This isn't just business, it's diplomacy through minerals. Saudi Arabia is playing a similar game. Through its Ma'aden mining company, now partnered with the Public Investment Fund, Riyadh has signed joint ventures with gold-rich countries like Sudan and Ethiopia. Their goal? Build a direct supply chain from African mines to Saudi refineries, bypassing traditional Western intermediaries entirely. They're not just extracting gold, they're building ports, roads, and digital infrastructure around the mines, creating economic dependency and political alignment. In East Africa, the pattern continues. Qatar's Barzan Holdings, typically known for defense tech, has discreetly acquired stakes in resource exploration firms operating in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Tanzania. These firms not only mine gold, they manage security, logistics, and local compliance. That means Qatari royals now sit quietly at the top of gold pipelines that stretch thousands of kilometers across African territory. Why does this matter? Because gold is more than a commodity. It's a store of value, a hedge against inflation, a weapon in times of financial war. When the West freezes bank accounts, Gulf nations with African gold simply shift to physical assets. When the dollar weakens, they back new currencies or cryptocurrencies, with gold bricks flown in from the Sahel. In 2024, the Central Bank of the UAE quietly increased its gold reserves by 34%. No press release, no public announcement, just quiet accumulation. And here's the twist. The Gulf isn't just replicating colonial structures. In some ways, they're replacing them. Where France once demanded compliance, the Gulf offers partnership, but with strings attached. Military training in exchange for airfield rights. Infrastructure development in exchange for mineral exclusivity. Cultural exchange programs that mirror soft power initiatives used by the British Empire, but tailored with Arabic flair. Even logistics are being re-engineered. New flight routes now connect African capitals not just to Paris or Brussels, but to Doha, Riyadh, and Abu Dhabi. Cargo ports funded by Gulf banks are rising along the East African coast. And in some African schools, students are now learning Arabic as a second language, a subtle but powerful indicator of shifting influence. Western governments are beginning to notice. Reports from European intelligence agencies suggest that over 20% of African gold bypasses official documentation and is funneled into Dubai's refining ecosystem. NGOs warn that conflict gold, mined in rebel-controlled zones, is being laundered through Gulf middlemen before re-entering global markets. But enforcement is weak, the money is vast, and the political will often bought. So what does this all mean? It means that the Gulf's royalty isn't just shaping the future of energy and tech. They're rewriting the rules of resource power, using gold as both a financial shield and a diplomatic sword. While the world watches Silicon Valley, they're building an empire, not of colonies, but of contracts. Not of flags, but of flows. Gold flows. The kings and crown princes of the Gulf are not just playing in the shadows of former colonial powers. They're building a new age of influence, with African gold in their vaults and old maps in their hands. Not to conquer, but to control. Not to claim land, but to root value. And in doing so, they're not just investors. They're alchemists, turning ancient power routes into modern pipelines of wealth. This is Desert Billionaires. Hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories of power, wealth, and influence. See you in the next episode.